Welcome everybody. My name is Paul DeBassio, and I have the pleasure to serve this year as the board chair for United Way Next. Been a board member for a few years, and prior to that, actually joined some committees at United Way at the time called Retiree Association, but moved from committee member to a board member, now board chair this year. So it's been a pleasure working with Carole Peters and Ivy and Kirsten, the other two staff members at United Way Next. I spent 20 years in the United Way system. So I was actually the chief development officer in Boston for a number of years before moving on to United Way Worldwide. And I see my great old colleague there, Tracy Nillis, is joining us. So welcome, Tracy. It's just been a pleasure to be part of the United Way network and really be able to continue the relationships and the feeling of making community change happen as a member of United Way Next. So you're gonna hear an awful lot about what this is, this thing called United Way Next, and some of the ways that you can get engaged. And my recommendation is to do what you're doing. Join sessions like this, join other sessions that seem of interest to you, and just engage in any way that makes sense for you and your schedule. It's been a rewarding post United Way career for me to be part of United Way Next. So Carole, that's my welcome, my introduction. I don't know if you want to ask others to introduce themselves. I'll let that, I'll turn it over to you to run the show for us.
Sounds great. Well, thanks, Paul. And thanks all of you for joining today. We keep these very casual. The intention is to really welcome you into this space and this community and get to know better what United Way Next is all about. But it's important for you to also get to know each other, or maybe you meet each other today and you realize you already have a connection. So I think it'd be great to just go around the Zoom room, and if it's okay, I'll call on folks to just, what might be great to share is, your name and where you're calling in from today. If you are a retiree or an alumni or your current United Way staff, which United Way you may have served at, if you were at United Way Worldwide or a state association or a local United Way, and just 1 minute each to kind of get us a sense of who we have today in this community. So I'm going to kind of look at this, and we'll end it with our staff doing the introductions at the end. So Teresa, you're calling in from Hawaii today. Would you like to go first?
Sure. So just as you said, Carole, thank you for the opportunity. I'm calling in from Hawaii. My body still thinks it's noon since I actually is in New York. So that's why I also had no issues getting up. I am actually a retiree. I was head of HR for the United Way of New York City. I was there for a good 5 years. So I did HR and also diversity. I spent most of my career in the corporate world. So that was meant to large companies, AIG, insurance, mortgage, all of that. But in all of those companies, still doing HR. So pretty well knowledgeable. And right now I have opened up my own consulting firm, Evans Consulting. And thank you, Ivy. And so I actually do policies, procedures, handbooks, things of that nature, advice. And right now I am consulting for the United Way of Fresno and Madeira. So that's my thing. And I live in New York.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. And if I remember correctly, Kyle Ron is the person that referred you to United Way Next. So if somebody made the introduction of you to United Way Next, it would be great for us to hear how you got connected. So great. I'm glad to hear you're out in Fresno helping them out.
Definitely.
Eric, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So my name's Eric Crammond. I worked for about 3 years for the United Way in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So that was pre-merger. It's now the United Way of the Chippewa Valley, Greater Chippewa Valley. I live in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I volunteer with my local United Way, Great Rivers United Way, and I do a lot of work with various United Ways still. So I spent about 4 years working for United Way directly, and then I moved over and worked for a software company called Andar Software. So many of you probably used Andar 360. I spent about 15 years working for them and left there just about a year ago, and now I work for a small software company called Red Toad Software, and we're working with a variety of United Ways in their financial stability community impact work. So I went to school for social work and information systems, and this has been a ton of fun to work. They're all United Way colleagues that I'm working with now, and out of the United Way of Delaware primarily, but we're working with United Ways and their financial coaching initiatives. So it's been a lot of fun. I love United Way and I love volunteering for United Way still. So it's yeah, that's a little bit about me.
It's great to meet you, Eric. I have family in Medford, Wisconsin, so very familiar with Eau Claire and that area. And
Yeah.
I've been meaning to catch up with you, so I'm glad to hear a little bit more about your background and that you're also
The home of Tombstone Pizza, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So-
Yes, my parents were from that area, Taylor County, Wisconsin. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, small world. We have lots of things in common for sure.
Absolutely. Are you a curler, does that mean? Because the Medford School District was always our curling nemesis when
Oh, I am not. No, because
Okay, all
I grew up in Northern Illinois, so we did not do
Okay.
that. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right.
Great. Amy, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Amy Crowell. I live in Atlanta. I'm a fundraising consultant, and I am working writing some grants for the United Way in Lake and Sumter counties, Florida. Keith Barsoon and I have long ties, including our children being friends when they were in middle school, and so that's how I got here today.
That's great. Thanks, Amy. And you're really new to the United Way, which I found out when you and I had our call. So that's great. We
Yes.
appreciate Keith inviting you to be a part of this. That's wonderful. Jody, would you like to go next?
Did you say Jody? Sorry.
Yes, I did.
Okay. It's like well, I'm Jody O'Brien. Right now I am in Georgetown, Texas, so Austin, Texas area. We have a business coaching firm, so I'm coaching businesses and nonprofits, especially in the strategic planning, or not strategic planning, succession planning and strategic planning, but succession because people do dumb things. Anywho, my United Way background is I was the CEO of the United Way in Northern Iowa for about 3 years, and then I came to Williamson County and was the CEO of the United Way of Williamson County for about 3 years, where I led the merge, the only young, small United Way to ever lead a merge so I merged United Way of Williamson County with United Way for Greater Austin. And so yeah, that's it.
That's great. Thank you, Jody. Tracy?
All right. Well, what's happening, folks? Can you hear me all right? Sometimes, here at our office at the mothership, it doesn't always work so well. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at, folks. I do want to be in Hawaii, Teresa, so I'm a little jealous because I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and it is very hot here, but and I don't have an ocean to look at. So, but what I would say is I worked for United Way for 25 years, and I am 100 years old, and it was all predominantly in workplace giving. And thanks to Paul, my former boss, one of many, kind of nudging me to join United Way next. So that's why I'm here. And I actually, after leaving United Way for 25 years, I headed up the Global Corporate Leadership Program at United Way Worldwide. Prior to that, for local United Ways. And in 2016, I got tapped on the shoulder from St. Jude to come and actually focus on building out their workplace giving and matching gift program. So I have been here for 9 years leading that effort. And so I'm excited to just hear what this is all about. I've seen emails. I joined calls like before I think United Way Next became a thing, and just see what's out there. I think it's always just good to stay connected. So thanks, Carol, Paul, and others for pulling this together.
Thanks, Tracy. It's so nice to meet you. I've seen your name for years as well because I'm a network professional. So I probably knew you when you were with the global leadership team or global accounts team. So that's great. Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that background and knowing where you are today as well. Stephanie Butler.
Hey there, also from Memphis, Tennessee today. So Tracy, good to see you. As I first became
familiar, I was like, wait a minute, I think I might know her, but
you know me, right? It's good to see you. It's a small town, and yet I never run into Tracy Nellis. How I first got to know Tracy, though, was I ran the the global United Way campaign for FedEx for several years. And she and another person, and her name escapes me, but they were my United Way Worldwide team and were awesome. And then lots of different ins and outs of what I've done, but I joined United Way of the Mid-South when they went through a major leadership change in 2015. I was the chief strategy officer and really the incoming CEO's trusted lieutenant, so to speak. I did that for 3 years. And then most recently, I came to know about United Way Next. I started a business in 2019. I left my sort of traditional career. I don't know if it was ever a traditional career path, but my sort of regular job career path, and started doing coaching, executive leadership coaching, whether you're in the nonprofit world or the for-profit world, if you want to be a leader at any level. And I'm an executive coach. And then for my consulting work is 100% focused on systemic, collaborative level, community-based work. And so the fit with United Way is certainly there. And do a lot of strategic planning, do a lot of action planning. So trying to build strategic plans that don't sit on a shelf. But I got interested in the notion of trying to focus that work on transitional leadership. And so I became acquainted with Third Sector Company and did their interim executive academy. And that's really how I came to know about United Way Next. So most recently, I was tapped by the board to lead the search and hire for the incoming United Way of the Mid-South CEO. And so I will continue to work with her in various transitional consulting sort of work. So any connection with United Way and keeping up with what's going on, because it's been kind of out of sight, out of mind for a few years, is really helpful. So I'm glad to be here.
That's great. Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate knowing a little bit more about your background with the Mid-South. That's great. Let's turn it back over to our staff. I think we touched on everyone. Ivy, would you like to go next?
Yes, so I am Ivy Cirillo. I apologize for my voice. The allergies in South Dakota are not fun. I'm originally from Florida, born and raised, and I was a digital nomad, so that's how I ended up in South Dakota. That tends to be one of the biggest questions that I get. I was originally in United Way through Sioux Empire United Way, also in South Dakota. And then after about 16 months there, I joined the team here. This is kind of where I got into the network and found my community. So I love it here and I'm glad to work here. And I'm usually the one that you will receive all of the emails from, the newsletters, any of the information about events, and typically the one behind the scenes doing all of our marketing on socials and all of the other things.
Thank you, Ivy. Kirsten.
Hi, I'm Kirsten. I am the Membership and Engagement Coordinator with United Way Next. It's a part-time role, so I'm working about 15 hours a week, focusing on member support, community engagement, and facilitating connections between members. So it's great to see all of the chat happening off to the side and all the connections being made just from this Zoom call. So that's great to see. I am a former United Way CEO. I worked for the United Way of Kankakee and Iroquois counties here in Illinois for about 3 years. And then I took a bit of a mom pause, is what I like to call it, where I focused on time at home with my daughter for a couple of years before I landed back here with United Way Next. And Carole is my connection. She was a CEO around the same time that I was here in Illinois, so we got to meet through the state association here. Prior to my work with United Way, I did a little bit of everything within the nonprofit space. I worked in refugee resettlement, art preservation, worked abroad for a couple of years in other countries. And I also worked for the Lions Club's international office. So did a lot of work with membership associations and volunteer management there. So it's kind of nice to be back in that sort of membership association realm here with this role, and working with other professionals who have that United Way affinity. So Great to meet you all, and I look forward to getting to know you better.
Thanks, Kirsten. So I'm going to take, first of all, I just want to pause and say, I echo what Ivy said and Kirsten said about the connections in the chat. I look around this room and what this community is all about is you. So it really has less to do with a PowerPoint slide that's going to share some content and some benefits about membership. And it's about making meaningful connections. And the fact that Tracy and Stephanie are already connected through United Way and work together and are having this moment of we get to see each other again, which is great. Or from me recognizing Eric now from being from Eau Claire and realizing that's how I know you. And I remember that you were up in that part of the country because I was in Illinois as a CEO at a small United Way. And then I think of Teresa and Eric and Amy and Jody and Stephanie, you're all in the consulting space or coaching space, right? You're entrepreneurs and you're doing things. So it's like interesting to me to see the connections. And then some of the things that we're working on internally and next that you all as members can plug into that could be meaningful volunteer opportunities that help support us as an organization, but also connect you back to the network and what really brought us all here today, right? United Way, and the fact that we all have this passion in our heart for this organization, whether we worked here for 6 months or 6 years or 26 years, it's really a part of who we are. And the opportunity to come together in this community that we call United Way Next is really quite meaningful, and it provides opportunities to really make some type of a difference, whether it's a conversation with someone across the country to just reconnect, or it's a possibility of a consulting gig, or just a great coffee conversation to brainstorm on ideas that you might have for something you're working on. So I'm excited about today's conversation, just given all that you've already shared. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and just briefly touch on a few slides to help guide this conversation today. And this really is a conversation, so you can feel free to, unmute, share, put things in the chat, whatever makes sense for you. So I want to share this slide just because I like people to see faces of folks that they may recognize and also see themselves in this community. And I think by seeing each other, in this room today, you can already see the connections that can be made. Our purpose. So our purpose is to harness the passion and experience of former and current United Way leaders. I like to say people because you don't necessarily have to have a leader title to be a part of United Way Next. It's a community that's inclusive and diverse, and we want everyone to feel a part of that. We accomplish this by leveraging member commitment to the betterment of themselves, United Way, their communities, through continued connection, service, and inspiration. We've already talked about the connection, and we for sure will talk a bit more about the service and all the inspiration. United Way Next strives to be an inclusive, diverse network of people who share a profound sense of purpose and belonging. And we are very committed. Our board adopted a diversity, equity, inclusion commitment. We have had some discussions recently, given all that's going on in the world, about the words and the word choices that we're using, but we are still very committed to this work. And this is really woven in everything that we do. As I mentioned, it's not about having a leader title. We are all unique, different people who bring important things to the table, and we want to be open to that as we build this community. We are celebrating our 35th anniversary. We started in 1990. The idea came about in 1989 by a few key people. And in 2022, we rebranded from what was called United Way Retirees Association. We have some very proud members who still talk about that. I had a meeting this morning with someone, and the name is Ed John. He still talks about the Retirees Association. So Tracy would know Ed, and others may recognize his name from working at United Way Worldwide. And then there's some of us that came into this organization as United Way Next, and that's really all we know. So people think we're new because of the name change, but really we've been around for 35 years. We have over 425 members. It ebbs and flows. It might be up higher today, and that changes depending on the day. We're growing the organization. We also have 150 local United Ways, more than that probably today, more like 160 that are supporting us. So you can join as an individual and you can join and support as a United Way, which I don't think today we have anyone participating, but we have a few people who registered that are going to listen to this recording afterwards. I'm specifically thinking of Robin Davis, who's the CEO up in Brown County United Way in Green Bay. And so when Robin listens to this, she'll be thinking of herself as an individual, but also as her United Way that's supporting. And those organizational members are all local United Ways, and they're all potentially tapping into United Way Next and benefiting from the different resources that we do provide, which we'll talk about in just a moment. We have 19 members on our board of directors. We have 3 part-time staff. So as Kirsten and Ivy shared, the number of hours they work, I'm also employed as a 30-hour-a-week employee. I work a Monday through Thursday schedule, and we all typically have Fridays off, just given our limited work schedule. We do also have some contract support, people behind the scenes doing additional work in addition to our 3 staff. This is a list of our board of directors, names that you may recognize, like Paul, obviously, is our board chair. Incoming chair is Ann Fox. Ann was a former United Way worldwide employee and also, I believe, worked at a local United Way. Ed Rivera, who's from from North Central New Mexico. He was a former CEO, and he's wrapping up his board service as past board chair. DJ Hampton, who was at United Way Worldwide and left the network for a while and went and did some other work, and recently returned, I think 2 years ago, to Trident United Way as a CEO. So we're grateful to have DJ as our treasurer. And currently our secretary is Carrie Strauss. Carrie is one of those interim executive leaders, done a lot of interim work and currently returned to full-time work for a nonprofit. But she's also a former CEO of a small United Way and served at several small United Ways. So just kind of highlight them as people you may recognize. We have retirees on our board who are not working any longer. We have a lot of alumni, and we also have current United Way CEOs. Intentionally bring in those folks from all different backgrounds and experiences to really have a diverse group of leaders. We offer a variety of different work groups that are all volunteer-led. So this is a great place where you all could potentially plug into some of the work. I'm going to just mention the names of them and give just a little bit of information to give you a sense. So we have a member segment value experience task force. It was formerly a work group. That work group was centered around making sure that we were focused on our alumni members. We had always been so heavily focused on retirees that we really wanted to expand for alumni, current staff, and make sure that people saw themselves in this space. That group is wrapping up, and their big charge is to pull off implementing a new membership directory that everyone will be a part of so that you would have access to that as a member. We have our Engage and Exchange work group, which I'll just call on Ivy quickly to share any insights she might want to about that. Our Engage and Exchange work group does our programming, special events, and Ivy handles that. So Ivy, would you like to share a few words?
Absolutely. So our Engage and Exchange group, they focus on, like Carole mentioned, all of our events and everything. So since I have come on in January, I kind of lead making sure that all of our events have a Zoom registration, things like that. We have an entire RFP process. And then I have also implemented some new data and tracking. So just like at the end of this call, there will be, I believe, a 3-question survey at the end just to see how it went. And I have now started tracking all of our analytics for our events and our attendance and things like that to hand over to our Engage and Exchange group as well, so that we can make sure that we are continuing to put on great events that you guys are actually interested in attending and participating in, rather than just what we hope and believe that you guys want.
And I'll share a little bit later some of the different types of activities and events that you can participate in. We also have resource development and member recruitment, which is really the area that Kirsten and I focus on with regarding, revenue generation, ways to generate more dollars for our budget. We've just recently expanded the budget a bit to help include the addition of these staff members who have expanded hours. Prior to this year, really, it was myself working with 2 other very part-time employees. And with the growth of United Way Next and all that we're doing, we knew that would be really important. And Kirsten, I'll just let you, if you've got any words you want to share about kind of the membership area.
Sure. So probably as new members, you received your welcome email from me. So that's the focus of my work is supporting members and helping them on board. So if there are areas of interest that are sparked from this orientation that you'd like more information on, feel free to reach out to me. You should have my email. If you don't, we can share it in the follow-up email to this meeting. And yeah, I'm happy to connect you with anything. And if you know of any potential members, feel free to send them our way. We'd love to share more information about United Way Next with them as well.
Thanks, Kirsten. And Ivy obviously oversees all of the marketing as well. So I'm not sure how much you want to highlight there, but we would encourage people to think about these groups as an opportunity to plug in and serve. That if you have a real passion for marketing or recruitment or being a part of our programming, we would welcome you to consider being a part of that. So Ivy, do you have anything else you'd like to share on marketing?
Yeah, so one quick thing that I'll mention in addition to the marketing piece is we've also heard from some of our volunteers that what they do during their day-to-day, they don't always love doing in their volunteer work. So if you are a marketing professional, but you really want to be helping with Engage and Exchange or something like that, that is totally okay. We will welcome all volunteers and any expertise, time, anything that you would like to give us, we will happily allow and accept. For marketing, we have a few volunteers that kind of review and engage with some of our marketing materials. Not everything goes to them, but this year particularly, I am doing an entire website migration. I'm doing an email migration. We completely revamped all of our branding and stuff for our social media templates and have new strategies across every platform that we're on. And so that there is a lot there and a lot of data and a lot of analytics, all the things.
And we would really welcome you to follow us on LinkedIn and participate in those different groups that we've got. We'll talk about that at the end. We've got a slide that just showcases what we have that you can follow us. But by engaging with us, people will see you on social, which inadvertently will help us find more alumni and retirees and current staff that might want to plug in and be a part of Next. We have our nominating committee, which is obviously looking at succession planning for the board, finding new chairs for these different committees, and it provides an opportunity for you all to think about if you aspire to be on our board of directors. We encourage people to try out a committee, get involved in the work, and then decide, by then you've tried us out, we've seen you in action, and we know that we could then consider inviting you to serve on the board of directors. We have our finance committee, which is led by DJ Hampton, as I said earlier, which you all know what finance committees do is review the revenue. We have a budget and they help prepare the budget, review our 990, and just make sure that we're keeping our financials in good order and good standing. We also have our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work group. That work group has provided roundtables throughout the year. These are community roundtables that are open to anyone to talk a bit more about that specific work. And we typically have a guest speaker who's focused on a specific area of interest that our members have mentioned they're interested in with regard to that work. So with that, I'll move on to kind of share that there's other ways to get involved in these work groups. My slide isn't advancing, but I'll talk about some of the other pieces of what we just talked about in a minute. So each of our work groups are led currently by 2 members that are co-chairs or co-chairs of the committee. Most of them have 2. The names, of course, on the screen are many of the board members, but we don't necessarily have to have a board member to co-chair a committee. So again, if you're really interested in getting involved in that work, I would encourage you to just let us know. As a member, what can you come to expect? So some of you already touched on this, that you're interested in knowing, like staying connected to the network and understanding United Way Worldwide. What's their vision? What are they working on? How are they supporting the network? So I want to just mention that we work in partnership with United Way Worldwide. We are a separate standalone 501c3. We raise all of our own money, and that's coming in the form of membership dues, contributions from our members, a few small grants that we receive from corporate partners, as well as a small grant from United Way Worldwide, which we are incredibly grateful for. I have a standing one-on-one every other week with LaDawn Nagel, who serves as Chief of Staff at United Way Worldwide, and we're very closely aligned with them and the work that they're doing. We do not do things in the network unless we're asked to do it, and unless we see that we have the capacity to fulfill that request. So we're working intentionally to be very focused on specific areas. Our upcoming town hall will be in, I believe, October. We're in the midst of planning that right now. And Tom Lowry from United Way Worldwide, which this is literally hot off the press, no one else has heard this yet, will be presenting about network transformation. So I'm certain it will be an excellent session. Our professional development sessions have become really a big part of our work. So when we talk about those, I want you to know that we've designed the sessions with you all in mind, some that might be more social, some that might be more informational and learning opportunities. We have our diversity, equity, inclusion roundtables. We've had a wellness series that's been running. We've done some leadership sessions. We have 6 planned giving learning sessions. So whether you're a United Way professional today thinking about a planned giving program, or you're an alumni working elsewhere and you say, hey, I could benefit from that, you're more than welcome to participate in any of those sessions. We record all the sessions that we do intentionally so that it's a library of resources for our members and you can tap into those. So if you really wanted to know more about what's going on at Worldwide, we have some recording links for those town halls that you could go back and listen to them and kind of catch up. Right? So I'm looking at Stephanie on my screen and thinking that might be a good use of your time. And of course, you can scroll to the meat of the presentation at that moment and listen in. In this particular slide, we're really featuring some of our guest speakers. So Ivy, do you want to just touch on quickly, if somebody were to want to be a guest speaker and submit a session, how they would get involved?
Yeah, so I currently have on our website, if you go under events, there is a guest speaker waitlist page. So you can go ahead and fill out the form. It should just be your name and email. I made it as simple as possible. And we are creating a list right now just so that if you are interested, we've got you. And then the moment that we open it up, we'll send out an email. I'll be sure to also include it on socials and mention it at the end of some of our events and things like that. We're not quite ready to start the entire RFP process yet, but basically I just work with each of our speakers to determine where they fit in our schedule, get them all set up. So I've got their headshot, their bio, all of their course materials, and I try to go through them too to make, or not course materials, event materials to go through and make sure that they're as accessible as possible. Because like we mentioned, we do have our commitment to our community. And so I'm trying to follow that. Also, as somebody that's neurodivergent and disabled, that's really important to me. And so that is kind of what the process looks like. Then 30 minutes before an event, we'll hop on with the speakers to run through everything, make sure all of the tech works. And I try to keep things as simple and easy as possible for each of our speakers.
And we'll make sure when the RFP is launched that it goes out to the entire community. So you've got a couple months to be thinking about, would you like to submit a session? And if you would, you wouldn't be presenting until 2026. So we've got quite a bit of time there. There's a few of you who have mentioned the Interim Executive Leadership Academy. And if you're a member of United Way Next, individual member, you have access to join the Academy and also receive a discount of 30%. We work in partnership with Third Sector Company, who's recently rebranded to calling themselves the Interim Executive Academy. Jeffrey Wilcox is the leader of that team, and we work closely with them on not only the opportunity for you all to join the Academy, but also in finding opportunities in the network where we can plug in and support with interim leadership. So currently, United Way Next is tapped on the shoulder when there is an opening in the network, and those United Ways can work with us to then be referred over to third sector to consider this as an interim placement opportunity. And those interim placements are for chief executive officers and chief development officers. So those who have gone through the academy and have those experiences would potentially be candidates for roles. I can tell you that in the last 2 years, we've had 5 placements each year. And this year, to be honest, we haven't had any. And I think part of that is so much is going on in the world that a lot of leaders are not leaving their current positions, and they're waiting to see how things play out before maybe they make a career change. So that might be why the transitions aren't as prevalent. And then some of the smaller United Ways are not in a position where they may be able to afford to hire an interim and go through that entire process. So if you're interested in that, want to know more, please let me know, because I'd be happy to share a bit more about the interim executive program. These are some of the faces of the people who mentor. So we have a mentorship program. We offer mentorship to the United Way network. We also would offer mentorship to anyone. So if you're sitting on the call today and you're thinking about what's next for me, right? Whether it's in your current career, you've recently left a job and you're doing something different, you're thinking about your next opportunity, you're looking to level up, or maybe you're in pre-retirement. We have people who have gone through those experiences and would be available to support you in your journey. So if you also think you'd like to be a mentor, I'd love to know that, because it's always great to have a variety of different people who are interested in this work. Staying connected. So we want to make sure that you engage with us on social media, that you signed up to be a part of our newsletter. And I believe we automatically register you for the newsletter when you become a new member. We don't overwhelm you with a lot of emails, but we do send out event emails that come out promoting the different virtual learning sessions that are coming up each month. So watch your inbox for that information. You are also entitled to be on the United Way Online platform. So if you haven't already registered to do that, some people find that to be really beneficial because they're looking for specific information on United Way Online that they think could help them if they're consulting or mentoring with a local United Way. It also might be an opportunity to register for some of the events, to receive the weekly global digest that comes from United Way Worldwide that has all of the updates of what's really going on in the network. So it's kind of like a way to just stay connected, whether you actually access it regularly or not. So if you haven't already taken advantage of that, we can make sure that the link is included in the follow-up and that you would have the ability to register for that directly. And then United Way Worldwide checks with us to verify that you are in fact a member, because that is a member benefit of Next membership. And then lastly, I'll just talk a little bit about the benefits for United Ways, because I know that there's people who will listen to this session afterwards, and I'll keep it brief. When we work with local United Ways, they typically are tapping into the interim executive program, which I had mentioned earlier. They might be looking for mentors for their local United Way executives or their staff, and we place mentors for every level. It doesn't matter if they're in the C-suite or if they're entry level or they're brand new to the United Way. We have our planned giving and endowment support that's available, and we encourage local United Ways to join us for all our planned giving sessions. We do have people who are actively consulting. So for those of you on the call today that are consultants and you believe you could be offering support to the network, we will be launching later this summer, early fall, our consultant collaborative, which is brand new. And I know some of you have already taken the survey that was sent out. We want to encourage you. I'm thinking Stephanie and Teresa, you're actively doing this work, and you may see yourself in that collaborative in the future, that might be a great place. It's not necessarily intended to be a place to generate work per se, but networking with other consultants, as you can imagine, just by the networking you're doing here today, may provide opportunities. And then the United Way network can tap into the consultant collaborative to say, we need support with X. That might be strategic planning. It might be creating a revenue diversification plan. And they could tap into those consultants either for pro bono consulting or paid consulting opportunities. And then lastly, we want to encourage United Ways to think about their staff and that when they join United Way, they should automatically be joining United Way Next and stay the course in their journey versus thinking about us as a retiree association where you join us at the end of your career. We want them to join us at the beginning. So I'm going to stop there and open it up. This last part is really all about you. We've got 20 minutes left before we end our time, and really ask you all to share thoughts, questions, feedback. What's got you excited about United Way Next, and how can we support you where you are today? And Noreen, thanks for joining.
One of the things that I was going to mention quickly as I'm responding to Noreen was just that one of the other events that we offer is our Next Chapter Chats. And I know that Carole mentioned it, but for Noreen's benefit, if you are in some sort of transition or anything like that, similar to mentorship, this is an opportunity where you can come in. Our Next Chapter Chats are actually not recorded, so those don't go up on YouTube. They're not sent out in replays, but you can have honest, vulnerable, raw conversations about what you're going through, whether it's a life transition, if it is a career transition. Everyone has been there. I know I've spoken about my transition from a local United Way to Next. I've shared about my entrepreneurship journey. There's individuals that share about retirement, leaving retirement and going back into their fun work after retirement. And some individuals that have been laid off or whatever the circumstances due to budget cuts and things like that, where you truly can come in and just talk, ask questions, get to hear from other people that have been where you are. And that's another one of the resources that we offer.
Thanks, Ivy. So Noreen, thanks for joining. We're excited for your retirement. And I know Tracy was thrilled to see you. So you two are in the chat. That's awesome.
Yeah. Just Tracy and I worked together like 30 something years ago in Nashville, Tennessee. So
Gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've signed up, I know Jeffrey Wilcoxon, I signed up for the interim executive piece because I'm not sure I'm done. But I don't know. It's kind of daunting, but exciting for those of you who are on the precipice of retirement. Anyway, it's exciting to be engaged. I mean, again, I apologize for being late. I was caught up and couldn't get here quicker to a laptop. So I think that this is really exciting to see this sort of engagement forum. And there are a lot of people that, there are a lot of wonderful thought leaders who have retired. And there are a lot in the system that are still in the network who I reach out to on a regular basis. So good to see folks, and Tracy, so good to see you.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Oh, we could tell stories, Noreen. Woo!
Well, and to be honest, that's what this is really all about, right? Reconnecting with friends, meeting new friends. All of us can talk about experiences that we had, the good, the bad, and even sometimes the ugly. We have members that occasionally will say to me, I left the United Way and my experience at the end wasn't great. And I'm, here to say, let's wrap our arms around these people and encourage them and support them, because there's a place for you at this table, and we want everyone to feel as though they belong. So really curious to hear from others if there's any reaction.
Well, Carole, thank you so much for the detailed review of everything that United Way Next is doing and is going to do as well. It's one thing when you get an email and you sort of look at the document and you read it, things that are coming, of course, from Ivy. Love those things that come back. But to be able to talk about it at this point and to get into more detail and to see some of I guess colleagues at this point is really wonderful. Noreen, retirement is wonderful, especially when you're still busy. I enjoyed hearing myself personally about the mentor program, so I will write to you about that. So would personally, be love to be involved with that, as in addition to the leadership program, and really, really looking forward to hearing more as you roll out the consultant program. That sounds very, very interesting, especially as we all embark in our different initiatives. So those and even the diversity committee that you were talking about. So those things kind of stuck out for me, and I'll definitely reach out to put my name in the hat.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Teresa. That's great.
Sure.
And I'll make sure each of the links and any contact information you guys need to pursue any of those avenues are in the follow-up email that I send out.
Other thoughts?
I'll go. I think this has been super helpful. I think that I'll pay attention more to the emails, just full transparency. Now that we've had this call, Paul, some things never change, so that's no surprise. And I do think, at least I'm speaking for on my side with St. Jude, we've got some clear guidelines on conflict of interest and things that I'm gonna have to be a little bit mindful of, that so I can't line up to something just yet till I figure out what the guardrails are that I need to follow from this side. That doesn't mean that I can't join calls and have conversation, or that, you know, always looking for that continuous learning development from peers and colleagues. So that's always the kind of the go-to to kind of keep up to date on trends and things like that. But joining something just yet, I'm going to have to proceed a little slower for the reasons I mentioned. But again, still helpful knowing what the full scope is.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Tracy. You know, I'm going to just mention this really quick because as a fundraising professional, and we've all done a lot of fundraising over the years, right? Our planned giving group of volunteers there's 22 of them. So if people see themselves as a fundraiser and you're interested in being like a mentor to someone, and these mentorships are literally a 1 hour per month, it might be for 3 months in a row, and then you kind of are a phone the friend. It's not a long-term commitment, but it's oftentimes people who are asking me, they're literally connecting to me and saying, I'm in need of X. And then I'm looking for people who have that experience. So like Teresa being an HR professional, she could be a great one when somebody has reached out to say, we're having some HR issues within our organization. We need somebody to talk to for 1 hour, right? I need someone who can hear me through and listen to what's happening. And that may open the door for something else. Amy does grant writing. You know, we get a lot of requests for, hey, do you have any grant writers in your membership base that we can reach out to? So it's the same type of thing. Thinking about Noreen and her recent, you know, future retirement coming up here soon, you know, maybe, you know, she wants to take summer off, but maybe by January, she's like, okay, I'm ready to plug in and be a mentor for someone who's new to the United Way, right? And just let's tap into this network of amazing leaders, all of you who could be there to support others in their journey. So Stephanie, did you have, I saw you unmute for a second.
Yeah, thank you for this. I did. So I'm glad you've expanded beyond the Retirees Association, because when I left, I was well far away from retirement. So thank you for the rebranding, because whether it was open to non-retirees or not before, I had no idea. So I think that's a great move. And it's, I think when you think about it in terms of all the great experience and talent that United Way builds over the years and across the nation and across the world, certainly in this hemisphere, it's, you hate for that to go to waste. And so I think even alumni who've gone on to be leaders in other nonprofits, they can learn a lot. And so as I work with a lot of nonprofits, whether I'm a volunteer or a consultant or a coach, you know, knowing that I can refer people who may have had a United Way experience stint is wonderful. And one thing that came out in a conversation recently with the interim executives group is just, and I'm seeing this right now with the United Way I work with, is the giving landscape has changed so much, as y'all have known and experienced and lived. the last 10 to 15 years. And so United Way has gone through an enormous amount of change, but there's still some basics of particularly around workplace giving, particularly around just good best practices that may have, some of that bathwater might have gotten thrown out a little bit. And I think that this is an area where people who still want to give back at some capacity have the opportunity to share some of those best practices that were never, they were always best practices. They just may have gotten forgotten, and just the basic people retire and they leave with their institutional knowledge. So that's what I'm seeing on the ground today. And I hope to do my part to support that, but I think there's an opportunity for a lot of folks in your group to be able to do that.
Thank you. That's great feedback.
One thing I was going to add to Tracy's point as well, completely understand the the email issue. I don't take it personally whatsoever. And then also to working with another nonprofit that kind of has some of those lines that you want to be aware of and careful of. I will always look at attendance of who attends our events, but at no point are we going to like cut you off and be like, you've been at all of our events and you're not a member. So feel free to continue reaching out to us, attending our events, things like that. We do also have some members that are alumni that did go on to work for other nonprofits. So if you were ever weren't able to kind of get the answers that you're looking for at your current organization and trying to figure out how to maneuver that, navigate that, I'm sure Carole could also put you in touch with some of our other members that might have some insight on how you can still benefit and engage with this community to support you while also doing all of the things you're supposed to do for your organization.
Tracy, I'm specifically thinking of you. You would probably love to co-host a social hour, and that would be just a ton of fun, right? We did
Why do
that
people know me? I don't understand. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you and Noreen.
I'd attend.
Social
Totally
hour.
would attend, Tracy.
We absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to mention this. Kelly Krebs and Chris Preston. Many of you may recognize those names. They worked at United Way Worldwide. They're now married to each other. People don't all know that, but they co-hosted a session last October, a social hour. It was just fun. We literally were on the call no more than 45 minutes. People came at end of day and brought their glass of wine or cup of coffee or tea or whatever, bottle of water, and socialized for 45 minutes. And it was just fun to catch up. In those social hours, we do what we did kind of today, open it up more conversational. If it's a big group, we break into some breakout groups so people get some quiet time, intimate time talking with their old friends, right? We try to say, who's really still connected that want to be together? So, I mean, it's just really joyful. Those are some of the most actually inspiring sessions because people are just reconnecting with their friends and colleagues. We do have people who join those who know no one, and they walk out feeling just as positive as the people who know others. So, we're kindred spirits in this space. We're all really in it together. So, we just encourage you to plug in where it makes sense and participate as you wish, and with no obligation or pressure to do anything, but to just be a part, right? And I think the greatest compliment for us is when somebody makes a referral and says, Tracy or Noreen or Jody recommended me to United Way Next. We know then that that's really meaningful to you as members. So as you get involved and get more and, start benefiting from being a part of this community, then, you can make those recommendations to us. So Kirsten, as a reminder, takes those and if you have names of people you want to encourage her to reach out to, happily just email her direct. If you're thinking you want to be a part of a session in 2026 and you want to get on that list, Ivy will send you the form, please do that. If you're excited about the Consultant Collaborative or being a part of Next Chapter Chats or our mentorship program, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Kirsten. Kirsten will take all those and funnel them back to me in whatever way makes sense. And then you all can stay connected from here as well. I would encourage you to find each other on LinkedIn and become connected there, and then set that coffee up with, Stephanie and Noreen, because Tracy said, oh my God, like you're all like somewhat connected already, would be wonderful to just see where this goes from here today. So, and if I haven't already spent some time with you one-on-one and you feel it would be beneficial for us to connect, I'm more than happy to devote some time with that, especially after today and you learning more. I've met with many of you already, so which is great. And with that, I'm going to just open it up to Paul, Kirsten, Ivy, or anyone else if there's any thoughts.
I was just going to make one comment. Since it does seem like you guys have all connections within this group, typically I try to blind copy everyone that is registered for an event in the follow-up emails and the pre-emails, but just for your privacy. But if you guys are comfortable with it and you want an easy way to connect, I'm more than happy to include your emails all together so that you can reply and connect that way. If there's anyone that isn't okay with that, just let me know. Otherwise, I can try to make it easier for you.
That's great. Thanks, Ivy.
I would just close by saying thank you. Thanks for giving up an hour of your time to learn a little bit more about United Way Next. The fulfillment I've gotten in being a member has been just by joining things like this, so being engaged. And so you've taken the first step and hopefully the first of many steps to engage with United Way Next. And we hope you get a great relationship out of it. So appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. And thanks to all of you. Stephanie had to jump off. She's got another call and we know your lives are busy. So if we can give you back a couple minutes, we'll do that. And don't hesitate to reach out. We'll see you guys over the summer.